This is Johnny Wrestling, or Johnny Takeover, as my shirt says. And listen, I want you to listen. Like, we're at a ball right now. It's crazy, it's loud, it's hectic. We're in New York City, but I want you to listen to the No Holds Barred Network.
Welcome back to the No Holds Barred Network with another episode of Wrestle Forum Podcast. It's like I forgot about this podcast that's on the No Holds Barred Network. It's like the lost show on the No Holds Barred Network. So, but it's been time, and I got to bring it back. And I'm so excited because this is an episode that I've been dying to do with my good friend Mags over here. How are you?
Yeah, I'm really, really good. Excited to finally get on Wrestle Forum. We spoke about this when you were on Why We Watch. What was that, about 9 months ago or something like that? And yeah, it's cool that I'm finally on one of my favourite shows in Wrestle Forum.
I'm so excited. So the whole point of Wrestle Forum is that I created because sometimes it's hard to invite other podcasters on other episodes like All Elite Podcast, because then the episodes become extremely long and to get everybody's opinions across. Yeah. And I work with a lot of people on other podcasts, and I feel bad a lot that, it's kind of hard to invite somebody onto like an All Elite Podcast. But what's also great is it's Wrestle Forum, and like I said, like I've been on your show, which I'm going to let you introduce. But a lot of people might not be aware of you. So I'm going to leave the platform for you to tell everybody about yourself. So go ahead.
Okay. So I am Darren, aka Mags. If you don't know me, first of all, where have you been hiding? I want to know where that rock is. I'm pretty infamous on wrestling Twitter. But yeah, I have quite a few wrestling projects. The one that Tiffany was on is now dead and buried. That was Why We Watch, where I used to talk to wrestling fans and creators about why they love watching people in spandex pretending to fight. But I have a project now called Badlands, where we talk about the Mount Rushmores of wrestling, different topic every week, different guests, and that's another show that Tiffany's graced with her presence. And then now I'm involved with quite a few other people's projects. One called Talk at the Table, where we have a whine and a grumble about wrestling every fortnight. One called Radio Techers, where it's about European football, so probably not something that Tiffany's really interested in. And then I'm part of a project called Chain Wrestling, where we review a match from yesteryear, and kind of through the kind of 6 degrees of separation style, we'll link it to another match. And that's a really fun little side project. So yeah, I've got my fingers in many, many different podcasting pies.
You really are like all over the place. It's great. Like I love it, and huge like fan, and I love like chatting with you. You're just like a great inspiration. I love it. So
I appreciate that. I mean, I've never been a podcaster for fame, money, or clout or anything like that. It's just I enjoy talking to people about wrestling, and it's just it's really took off, and I'm so grateful for the community that we've built, and people like you and Queen and Pup and stuff like that, because we've built up a really strong core friendship, and it's just cool to be a part of.
Yeah. I'm just sharing the stream, guys. So that's why you see me looking to my left, because I'm just like getting it out there so you guys can come in here and chat with us. So, I mean, if you want to chat with us, write things into the chat. I'll pick it out of the chat as well. If you got comments or questions, it's really just going to be like an open conversation. Like, we don't know where this conversation's really going to go. So I'm like really excited for this as well. But you and me have been hugely on the synergy train. So we're just going to dive into that, because that's like one of our biggest, like, main things that we absolutely adore, you know? So tell me, like, how did you find synergy? Like, let's start from the beginning.
Okay, so I was never really an indie wrestling person, but coming from Britain and being checked out of wrestling for best part of 10 years, the kind of boom for indie wrestling had really passed me by. And when I come back to wrestling in about 2016, it was more New Japan, and then obviously NXT, and then the upstart AEW. So I really kind of missed the boat on that kind of indie wrestling, but it was actually you and Queen that really got me into Synergy. And I think in a group chat that we were in, Synergy got mentioned, and I was like, oh, what Synergy? And Queen showed me it, and then you were involved, and then I got talking with Colin, who's just got the most infectious personalities. Just, you can just tell he's all about the talent rather than kind of worrying about making money or making himself famous. He's always about promoting his talent, which I really love, that kind of mindset, especially in today's wrestling when everybody's got some sort of ulterior motive or everyone's got something to hide. I like the way that Colin and Synergy are so open and frank, and they want their wrestlers to be amazing, and they really kind of like struck a chord with me. So I think it was around about the second birthday show that I really started to dive deep into Synergy, and it's probably the biggest indie company that I like to watch on a regular basis. I have a couple in Britain that I get involved with, Reach Wrestling for one, and then there's another one in I think it's in Jersey, maybe New Jersey, called Unpredictable World of Unpredictable Wrestling. But obviously with COVID, that's all shut down there. So yeah, Synergy is pretty much my only indie show right now that I'm watching. Yeah, it's a great time watching Synergy.
Colin's the best. Like, I mean, you guys know, like, Colin's always on the No Holds Barred network. Like, and then when I go to the shows, like, I try to make sure that Colin's somewhat in the background when I do my little, like, whenever I'm at the show, like, I always try to get, like, Colin to do something for it. Like, I just love, even, like, I was talking to him the other day, like, he's going to come on a panel before the January show. It's a little drop for you guys, and Steve Scott's coming back. So, you know, we're going to sit, we're going to talk, we're going to break down the card that's coming up in January. But I think I think all of us kind of came around Synergy around different times. Like, and it's great to see a whole bunch of our friends as well who got into Synergy, and it's really cool for me to see how far Synergy's grown, right? Like in the past year, like Synergy's just exploded. So
yeah, absolutely. And I think the thing that really resonates with me about it is I can sit in the chat and maybe not know as much about the wrestlers, but guys like you and Queen and Bob from Bob Culture can really kind of like fill me in, and you feel part of a family. And Colin is someone who I've never met in person at all, but he's so welcoming. He's been on my shows a couple of times, and yeah, I would go to the ends of the earth for that guy. I think what he's doing in wrestling is absolutely brilliant, and yeah, it just makes you want to really kind of shout for Synergy from the rooftops and really push them to be a huge company.
Rob's in the chat right now, and he said, Mags from BCP 2021, you heard it here first.
I've been waiting for that invite for so long. He keeps overlooking me.
That's rude, Rob.
It's too big time for me.
No, shame. You know what? I'm just going to have to withhold cookies for him. So that's it. So if you don't put Mags on, I'm withholding cookies. But shout out to everybody in our chat, Raisin Chat and Nerds and Chris. Like, you guys are awesome. Like, amazing. So Mags, like, who is your favorite in Synergy right now?
I really, really like Casey Catal. I think she's super, super talented. But my boy's got to be KTB. He's an absolute hoss, just an animal. And it was amazing to see him pop up on AEW Dark, really kind of getting that opportunity. And I'd go with probably Casey Catal and KTB as my dudes.
It's so bad because I feel like I've become very impartial to like a lot of the wrestlers that I've gotten so close to, and like I feel like it's I love Casey so much, and she's become such a personal friend. I love her so much, and then it's like if she gets hurt, I want to fight someone for her. Like I legit want to fight.
So offended.
I do. Like if you hurt my girl, like I instantly hate you. Okay, so like. It's terrible. Like I don't
like that taking your earrings out. Come on, bitches.
Yeah, that's it. You know what? That's it. I'm gonna go fend for my girl right now because you messed her up, and I'm gonna mess you up and like seriously. But no, she's such a sweetheart, and it's such a great thing. And KTB's great, and I felt that chop that Ray got for KTB.
Ooh.
Ow.
I think it could chop your lungs out of your chest. Is so brutal.
I don't know, like, oh my god, like, but he's been great, and oh man, and I love it. Like a lot of people are more on him, and like that they're seeing like GCW or that that he got his opportunity at Dark. So it's been great. It's been a great thing, and I mean, me and Mags were in like a group chat with a bunch of people as well with Colin. Like, we have our own little circle, which is really amazing.
And one of the cool things as well is one of the networks I'm involved in, run by Tony, used to be on Smart to Death. Colin's part of that group as well, and he puts out podcasts on that network. So getting to just chat with him on a daily basis and just shoot the shit on wrestling is. And his kind of mindset for wrestling, I just love it. The ways it's always the performers first, no matter what. I really kind of like his ideology for wrestling.
Yeah, it's great, and it's like I know that if I don't know something, like I also know like I can message Colin, and be like, hey Colin, like, I don't know this, whatever. Can you explain or whatever? And he's just like wonderful. So it's nice to have that experience as well. So, but I think anybody could just like message him too. I mean, like, I feel like with us being podcasters, like we have our perks as well. And I've learned like a lot, I feel like, and I know like I'm not where other people are who are actually in the business. And I feel like I'm not really one that's in the business at all, but I feel like I am that fan that gets a little bit extra knowledge because of the fact that we podcast. But of course, like I don't know everything of the ins and outs of it. But it's really nice, and it's really cool to, again, like as a fan to kind of see a lot of stuff. Like Colin's let me backstage and like to do stuff for the network for him and do interviews, and it's really a great thing. So I can't put over Colin.
And I'm kind of the same. I mean, I do so many podcasts, but I don't consider myself as a creator. I'm just a fan who likes talking about wrestling. It's got me things that perhaps I wouldn't have got ordinarily. I've dealt with Fart TV, and we've had sponsorships with Power Slam and RWTV and stuff like that. But at the end of the day, I don't see myself as better than any other fan. I'm always willing to learn. I love learning about wrestling. I will never profess to know everything. And it's just cool that I've got this audience who are willing to share this knowledge with me, and I see it as we're all like a group, as a family, rather than we're a bunch of creators more than anything.
Yeah, we really are. It's great, and like even like you mentioned earlier, like we all met, and Queen's our girl. Shout out to you. I love her to death, and it's like I always say, like, anything for Queen, I will drop anything for.
Yeah, absolutely.
I always say that.
Same.
When it comes to her, like, I will drop anything. So it's like, oh, you need me? Okay, cool. Let's go. You know, I will always do that for her. So it's been a fun ride with everybody. So, but so since we talked a little bit about the indies. So like, what else do you like? Like, what's your big, wrestling? Like, I drop anything for.
Yeah, I mean, ironically, we're doing so many kind of wrestling-based content. The time I actually spend watching wrestling goes more and more down. It's really kind of bizarre, but I'm an AEW mark. I'm an NXT mark. I'm trying to get back into NXT UK, but I'm struggling because of the issues that they had with speaking out and some of the people who were still on the show. I can't quite build myself up to watch them. So yeah, so right now it's just AEW and NXT mainly.
That's awesome. So who's the fave right now in AEW?
Oh, how can you look past Kenny Omega? what he's doing now with this kind of belt collecting cleaner gimmick, involving Don Callis, going over to Impact. It's what we all hoped AEW would be, like almost like a super indies where the wrestlers will come in and go to other promotions. I'm hoping that'll lead to some New Japan stuff. But yeah, I think for me, Kenny's been my boy since I brought back into wrestling, and to see him at the top of the tree at AEW is phenomenal. And I love heel Kenny. I love the cleaner Kenny. It's his best character for me.
This is his like best version since I feel like AEW has started. And like I always felt like Kenny was one of the best in the world. Was he one of my favorites? No. But that's okay. I mean, that was just like my opinion of it or whatever. But I always I can actually say like he really is like wrestling style because he learned, he knows different stuff than you would normally see. He really is one of the best in the world. Again, like I said, was he one of my favorites? No. Like I was always a huge like Young Bucks fan, and even still now. But even I think what's happened to me through the years, like I'm more big into my indie guys, and I think I kind of jump on that wagon a little bit more than the more known guys. But I feel like this version of Kenny right now, because I was not huge into like New Japan, and I would watch Ring of Honor randomly, so I wasn't very like into it like as maybe like some other people like you like or who are big fans of like Kenny Omega. So do you think like right now like this version's better than how he was the cleaner then? Like is there like that difference that you feel like? Is this better than what you're used to? Is it a little different? Like what are your opinion on it?
Yeah, I mean, he went through quite a few like subtle gimmick changes whilst he was in New Japan. Obviously, starting as a young boy almost, and then going through the Golden Lovers, and then into the original version of the Cleaner, which was when I really got invested in him. Then we went through the whole kind of best in the world, best bout machine version of Kenny with the Elite. Which is kind of what he's been in AEW for the majority of the time, but he's always kind of like settled in the background and let the likes of Cody and the Bucks kind of take the spotlight whilst he kind of worked behind the scenes. And this kind of 2.0 version of the Cleaner, where it's all the best parts of the original Cleaner version, like the cocky attitude, the good night and goodbye and good night bang, but mixed with the wrestling talent of the best bout machine. It's this for me is the best version of Kenny that I've seen in my time watching Kenny Omega wrestle.
I feel like with AEW, what I liked about it is like maybe a lot of the wrestlers that like if they came from WWE, like I kind of automatically be a little snot about it, like another like WWE person that comes over, and it's like again, like I said, because my love I've learned is so into the indie scene, and that I get so excited to see these guys get built up of what they can be, especially a lot of them that are brand new, like Top Flight, like the potential, like they're so young, and like I can't wait to see where they're gonna be at like within 5 years. It's gonna be like insanity, right? But what AEW has done for me personally, like I feel like again, like someone like Jon Moxley, right? right? Like, I wasn't really a fan of Dean Ambrose in WWE. Like, for me, like, I get it. Like, people just, like, loved him, and it just wasn't there. And I was like, okay, which was a great feeling. Like, he came over. Okay, cool. But AEW built him into this monster that made me just fall in love with Jon Moxley. And, like, not that I wasn't a fan of Kenny Omega, but, like, this version of Kenny Omega, like, I just love it. Like, it's perfect for me. And it's like, this is why I do an AEW podcast, because you got me psyched. You guys did that to me. And with keeping an open mind, and I'm sure, like, maybe you can kind of feel like that too, because I feel like it made me a better fan in general. And I think the indies did that to me, is that because of the fact that I kept such an open mind and didn't think of just WWE, because growing up as just watching WWF as a kid, you think, oh, it's supposed to be this way, right? A lot of people think that, right? And they're not open-minded to anything else. And then people don't know about the indie scene, and now we have AEW. So I think with the fact that I've become such a better fan with being so open-minded, that's why I think I love, seeing these characters, even they're known, but be better. If that makes sense.
That makes absolutely a lot of sense, and I think that's what I love about the community that we're in. Like I said, I'm all the way over here in Britain, and our kind of indie scene is definitely not as hot as the ones in America. But I can learn off the likes of you. I can learn off the likes of Queen, off JPQ, and really kind of get to know who these talents are, and that's I mean, I've been very realistic with AEW. There's a lot of stuff that I absolutely adore. Like the focus on tag teams, that's absolutely amazing. But there's also a lot of stuff that I find it can be quite negative, like the way that the women's division is kind of pushed into the background. But one thing that they have been able to do is bring in these indie talents who maybe not everybody knows, but the people who do know, they're really hyped and they're like, yeah, my boy's getting some recognition. But then for people like me, I can also see talent that I may have missed on the indies and kind of like really start to look out for them and go and look at their back catalogue. For instance, they had Warhorse on, and I've only seen maybe 2 or 3 Warhorse matches before that, so I didn't really know a lot about him. I didn't kind of get the hype about him. I watched him on AEW, went back and saw more of his stuff, and yeah, man, I'm a huge Warhorse fan. So if there's one thing that AEW has done, it's really kind of helped these young, hungry talents get some exposure and really kind of make big names for themselves. The biggest one is probably Darby Allen, to be fair. Yes. I mean, I remember listening to an interview he had with Omega Luke, and he was living in his car, and he was making $100 a performance, and then cut to a year later, and he's one of the biggest stars on arguably the second biggest wrestling company in the world, and then he's now the face of TNT, going into a program with fucking Sting, of all people. It's phenomenal. So I think AEW have a lot to be praised for. I think it's a breath of fresh air watching a second company be able to provide televised wrestling. I really, really do enjoy it.
And them giving us something completely different as well, which is great. And like their tag team division. Like, I was never really big into tag team, like wrestling. I just wasn't big into it, and AEW has done that to me. So it's been a great thing. I remember, you mentioned JPQ. Shout out to you. #WatchStardom. We really do have a community that we all like different things, and we support each other, and we can kind of really learn off of each other as well. And JPQ had me on his podcast, and he was like, oh, I never really had anybody come on and talk like strictly like AEW. And me and him, this is like when it first started, me and JPQ were talking about before I went onto TV, and we were talking about our concerns and, having just, the elite booking themselves, that's what was going to happen. And, it being like a glorified indie show, and like me, again, like I said, I love it. And Darby Allen, like you said, is another one who I actually watched in the indies before he got signed. And I remember how excited I got when he got signed, and I marked the hell out to Kyle, and Kyle's like, I have no idea who this person is. And I'm like, watch. I was like, I'm telling you, this kid's gonna be huge, and look what happened. And I'm so glad like the fan base like fell in love with it. So it's been fun, like, oh man. And again, our community, like, I love Queen had what's it called, like Google Hangouts. Were you in there with us where we're talking like Impact? And it was really nice. What I liked is because everybody's so quick to judge and fight, and we get so much negative, but it was so nice because I think there was like 15 of us in the Google Hangouts at the moment, and a lot of us, like, I'm familiar with a lot of the talent in Impact, but don't know too much about it, but I know like some. And it was nice because people who never watched Impact before were in the chat too, and then they were asking questions, and we, if we knew something, we answered and tried to explain it, and it wasn't like a judgmental thing, which was absolutely amazing. So like, kudos to this community. Like, you guys are great.
Yeah, I mean, the community as a whole gets a lot of grief because it is fractured. There are definitely lines drawn and kind of like people looking to kind of throw shade on other people's wrestling fandoms. But if you just scratch below the surface and you surround yourself with the right people, you can have amazing conversations about wrestling, and you don't always agree. I mean, there's been plenty of times when me and Queen or me and JPQ have had totally different opinions. Me and Anthony have had almost stand-up arguments about wrestling, and but we stay friends because we know that it's opinion and it's all subjective. And yeah, it does annoy me when you see the kind of stan culture that's up there, and people like reporting other accounts because they don't like a certain company, or then you'll get these groups where they'll be showing off because NXT got more viewers than AEW and stuff like that. And I just don't get the point. If you are enjoying a product, why does it matter if it's the number one product? If you're enjoying it, let everyone know that you're enjoying it and why you're enjoying it, and maybe other people might enjoy it as well. You don't have to bag on a different company or a different wrestler because it's not the one that you're particularly enjoying. I've never kind of understood that kind of mindset in our community.
Yeah, I don't get it. It's a horrible thing. And, I know I talked on one of the episodes that I was like that when me and April were at Synergy, and I had the Orange Cassidy mask, and like I got like torn up for it. And I'm like, just because you're not a fan of him, that doesn't mean that somebody else isn't a fan. And, so exactly. Like, who cares? Like, that's okay. Like, if you don't like comedy wrestling, that's okay. Like, I feel like I'm not going to go out of my way because maybe I'm not a fan of somebody and go ridicule you because you like that person and I don't. Like, I don't see anything of it. We all like what we like, right? Like, like you said, like you used to watch like NXT. Like, I was huge into NXT, and then I couldn't do it anymore, and that's okay. I mean, I just fell out of it. I just wind up finding there's so much wrestling, right? Like we always say that there's just so much wrestling out there. If there's something you don't like, go find something else that you do like. And exactly. even with this AEW, like, Kyle didn't know anything about a lot of these people, and I went to Kyle and I was like, this is going to be huge. I was like, this is going to be really big. And Kyle was like, okay, let's do it. And like Kyle fell in love with it too. And Kyle was running a WWE podcast on the Holds Bar Network before me and him joined forces to do AEW. And now he just loves AEW. And he always says, I love it. I love it. I love it. Now I just wish I could get Kyle on the indie train so he could kind of start seeing these people before the fact that come in. So,
yeah, and I think that's one of the things that I love your podcast, the All Elite podcast, so much, is because you praise AEW, absolutely praise them, but whenever something goes wrong or there's something that quite doesn't hit the mark, you absolutely will kind of like criticize them. And I find that a lot of our content creators will sing from this like everything is awesome kind of song sheet But I always like to be honest, and I like the fact that you and Carl are honest. And when something isn't quite hitting the marks, you're quick to call it out and kind of like kind of critique AEW, which a lot of people are not able to do, and maybe that's probably why the community is so fractured, because we can't, as a group, we can't understand why somebody will be criticising our favourite. We can't take that criticism. We can't kind of use it constructively. We kind of like get the shields up and get all defensive and start lashing out. And yeah, it's weird. The wrestling community is a very weird beast.
I know. Like, you know, when me and Kyle decided to do this, I had said to Kyle, and we made a pact. We made a pact with it. And, you know, I was like, I don't want to be that podcast that if you don't like it, like, you completely trash it. I didn't want to be that podcast. You know, it was something that I knew was going to be big. I knew I was going to enjoy. Okay. And yes, I feel like you have to be realistic. Nothing's perfect. Yes, I want to stay positive, you know, but there's a way of critiquing it without trashing it, I feel like.
Exactly.
So like maybe like I'm going to use the women's roster as example, right? There's a lot of women in there that are very green, right? And I'm sure you can agree with me with that, you know, and maybe it's not the best division, but I feel like another thing that I feel about it is a lot of them weren't working. They're, again, like, I think a lot of people have that mindset, like WWE, like they have that performance center, you know, they work a lot, you know, like you're going to get better, or you're just that bad or whatever. But you know, someone who's not used to being on television every week, or maybe that they work indie promotions once a month or once every other week or whatever it is, they're not going to have that training, and they're not going to, or not how to, you know, work the camera, you know, you might not be familiar. So the only way you're going to get better, you know, is, you know, guidance and being put on TV and working to get better. So I feel like, again, like I said, I think there's a way, like with me and Kyle's podcast, that it's like we're not trying to trash it, and there are going to be those moments and things that me and Kyle aren't going to like, but it's really like how you view it, you know? So I think I learned that also with our podcast, because we've seen so many podcasts that they'll trash it. And I'm not trying to trash it. I want to enjoy it. I don't want to hate it. You know, like I don't want to hate. I don't want to sit here and do a podcast and like just completely hate on something. Like, it's not fun.
Yeah, and I sometimes get a reputation in our community of being someone who kind of hates on stuff, but it's not. I want every company to be successful, but if there's something that I don't agree with, I call it out. I'm willing to call a spade a spade. And the AEW women's division was a prime example. I felt that they had some of arguably the best talented wrestlers in the world, but you hit the nail on the head. They were very, very green. They had only worked that kind of indie style, and maybe, like you said, once or twice a month. So, like for example, Britt Baker absolutely will be the star of the women's division, but came in so kind of inexperienced and kind of wilted under that pressure. And I think AEW had a lot of issues that went wrong. They had injuries at the wrong time. Obviously, the pandemic didn't help at all, and obviously then there were a lot more focus on the men's storylines, which kind of shoved the women's division kind of into the background. But I'm sure this is a company we're talking about who's less than 2 years old.
Yeah.
I mean, WWE have been going for 40 years. These have had so long to kind of nail down their way of producing content, and AEW will get there. The women's division will get there. I mean, you can't have wrestlers like Chris Statlander and Britt Baker and Thunder Rosa and all these amazingly talented wrestlers involved and it not work. It's just kind of like baby steps. You've got to allow these women to be able to, first of all, be able to work a camera, because the AEW style is totally different to the style on the indies, because you have to work the camera, you have to work the audience, and it takes time to learn that. And you hit the nail around the head. They need this ring experience, and thankfully they're getting that, and it is kind of turning the corner. And working with guys like Kenny and the Bucks, with Taz in the background, and guys like Billy Gunn and Jerry Lynn, who are all there helping to train. This product's only going to get better and better, and I'm excited to see where AEW goes in the next couple of years.
And like Britt Baker's gotten so much better. I think this is like what she needed. She needed that heel turn, and again, she just needed practice to feel more comfortable, which we talked about it, right? And I feel like a lot of characters that just started in AEW, right, people were not liking it, like Dark Order and Butcher and the Blade, and I feel like a lot of these, talents, like people were in the unknown. And maybe like, like someone like me, like known some of these wrestlers before the fact, and like, the potential of what they can have. But now, like where we're at now, like they grew, and it's amazing. And it's so exciting to see like where they're going to get. So it's like Britt Baker has been a really great storyline to like watch, and she's just gotten better. And it's like these segments are better, and it's really, really good.
And arguably you could say the injury was the best thing that ever happened to her, because it gave a chance to work on the side of a wrestling that was the struggle for her, and it was the character work. Having all that time to focus on that and not wrestle and really build up that heel character has made her 10 times the wrestler that she was before. I mean, she was always super talented in ring, but she just needed to flesh out that kind of that character work, and it's worked absolutely brilliantly. Her and Tony together have been so funny.
I'm dying right now because a couple of things. The chat, you guys are crazy. Kyle's in the chat. He says, "Tell Mags I love his Conor McGregor wall, and I love the Undisputed Era shirt." Ray's like, "Yes, the wall is great." And then Kyle just dropped $2 in the chat and said, "I will never meet Abaddon." Will you stop with this? Like, you cannot like go back on your, like, Mags, tell him, right? Like, he said it on the podcast, right? He said I had to get 100 signatures. He didn't think it was possible that me, of all this is the thing with Kyle, he never believes that I can't make anything possible, and it does not take, it's not that hard for me to make things like impossible to do, right? And like he was like, all right, 100 signatures, I go get 100 signatures, and then he tries to like change, like, oh no, if Abaddon signs it, then I'll meet her. No, that wasn't the agreement. Like,
I mean, to be fair, I wouldn't want to meet Abaddon. She scares the Jesus out of me. But Kyle, man up. A deal is a deal. Yeah. You virtually shook on it. You've got to go and do it. Don't welch on the bet. Don't welch on a bet.
You can't do that. You said it live on the podcast. You got to do it for the fans. So, I mean, he already agreed he has to. When life goes back to normal, he has no choice. So, but you guys are crazy. I love it. So, but anyway, we have the holidays coming up. So, what's going on with you? Like, how do you celebrate? What's going on? Yeah,
well, it's been a pretty weird and crazy couple of years. All of my kids have now had kids of their own, so we've got 3 little toddler girls running around. So Christmas it's never been something I've been particularly bothered about, but I always enjoy Christmas for the kids, and having 3 little girls and going out and buying presents for them. Yeah, it's been really, really fun, really kind of trying to get in the Christmas spirit with lockdown and COVID and with me and Mrs. Mags have gone a little bit spend crazy, but it's the first Christmas with our grandchildren, so yeah, we've gone a little bit mad.
Time to spoil the grandkids. I love it.
Yeah,
I love it.
Absolutely.
So I'm so excited. I can't believe Christmas is next week already. Like
a week away. Yeah, wow.
I know, like, I was just talking to my dad. He's like, what do you want to do? Like, because I always spend Christmas Eve with my dad. And he's like, what do you want to eat? I was like, I don't care. I was like, I'm easy, like, because he's working that day, too. So usually, like, sometimes he'll cook, but he's working. So, like, I don't care. I was like, I said, we could order a pizza. We could order Chinese. I don't care. Like, I'm trying to make it as easy.
Christmassy spirit.
Well, you know what? Like, I feel like I'm being realistic, right? Because where he lives, they like you can't go out to eat right anymore. And I also offered to cook, and that's a no to my dad. Nope, you're not cook. Okay, like I don't care, but he's like no. And then I'm like, so just order like Chinese or pizza or something. There was like a whole spiel on the phone before, and like, but I couldn't really believe that like Christmas Eve's in a couple of days, and I'm like, so I don't know what's going on, but he's like has to be so over the top with it. I'm like, it's just me and you. Who cares? Like what are you doing? Like I could have a damn burger on the damn George Foreman grill. I don't really care. Like why are you going big of a deal?
No, Christmas tradition in my house is that I'll cook. So we'll have turkey, we'll have a beef, and we'll have a gammon. We can have like households all sharing as well.
Oh wow, yeah, holidays definitely have changed for me too. Like now I spend Christmas Day like with my mom, which I always did. I usually cook. So, well, now I cook. Back then it was like my grandma used to cook, but she passed. And so now it's just like me and my mom on like Christmas Day that we do. So, but the tradition is in the Italian household, it's always like sauce. So I got to continue that. So, but my sauce is better anyway. Oh, man. Oh, but that's going to be fun with the grandkids, though. Like, I'm thinking about it. Like, it's all about the kids anyway and how excited they get. And
yeah, absolutely. The two oldest ones are about 18 months old, and the youngest one is like 7-8 weeks old. So yeah, it's just going to be fun to see them like opening the presents and not even be interested in the presents, but more interested in the wrapping paper and the boxes.
Yeah.
But yeah, they absolutely just adorable, and yeah, the best thing that's ever happened to us, and yeah, I'd kill for him.
Oh, I love it. Oh, man. I can't believe this year just went by so fast. It's just every time around this year, I'm like, damn, it was like, didn't we just celebrate Christmas? Like, then we got New Year's, and I'm like, oh my God. It was like, we just celebrated the New Year. Like, and I know everybody's like over this year.
Well, we started lockdown in the end of February in Britain, and we're now getting to the middle of December, and we're still in lockdown. So this year has just gone by, and it feels like we haven't even had a 2021. We've just skipped it, and we're gonna 2020. We've just skipped it. We're just gonna go straight to 2021.
Yeah, I know. I feel like we're gonna have like that in 2021 too for a while. That things are just still not gonna go back to normal. So it's like you try to enjoy the best that you can. That's why yeah, I've been very careful with a lot of the promotions that I've been going to. Synergy's one, obviously, that like I physically go there. Again, like knowing all the precautions that are taken there, and they take it very serious, and you got to be careful with some other promotions. And I'm like, I'm not ready to go to yet, or, I'll just support from home. I'm just not ready to go, but I try to go to all the Synergy ones. So,
yeah, and
crazy.
I feel so much for the actual wrestlers though, because for a lot of them, this is their income, and not only the pay for the wrestling, but the selling of merchandise at the shows, and for them to not be able to make that money, it's absolutely heartbreaking. But on the other hand, you don't want them getting ill, and you don't want them to maybe perhaps never wrestle again. So it's an absolute shame. And the quicker we as a community can get over this pandemic and get back to normalcy and get back to watching wrestling live, the better.
So, like, if we get back to normal, or when we get back to normal, what it's like the first thing like you want to like do wrestling wise? Like, is there like a particular promotion you want to go to? Is there something like you would want to travel to, like the States maybe, like, or somewhere by you to go see? Or
yeah, well, me and my son both ride motorbikes, so we have always had this kind of plan to do a tour of Route 66, so go all the way across the states. But obviously with the pandemic, that hasn't panned off, so that'll probably get pushed back a year. But one of the first things I want to do is go and see a show with one of my podcast co-hosts, Paul. He lives in the middle of the UK, and I'm living at the top. So it would be cool to go and meet up and maybe go and see a Rev Pro show or even a Progress show, and kind of like meet him in person, because it's something we've never done. We've been podcasting with him for 2 years and never had the opportunity to meet him in person. But yeah, aside from that, the Route 66, I was going to go and visit quite a few of our podcasting brethren, but unfortunately that's not panned out yet. So maybe in the next couple of years that'll happen.
Hopefully. But that's cool. It sounds like a me and Kyle situation. That was like me and Kyle had podcasted together for years, and then we started doing the AAP together, and we still never met, but we've been friends for like years. And then to like finally meet in person and like hang out, it was really cool. So like you're gonna have like a blast with it, because it's like weird for a moment. Like I've met a lot of YouTubers like that too, that we've been friends for a long time, we've worked together, but then we never met because we're in different states or whatever the scenario is. Even like Kyle being in Canada, me being here in New York, and it's like not that far, but it's really been a crazy ride. And like I said, like I think like even like for that moment, like I know like even our friend Stephanie, who's a Twitch streamer that she plays video games, and I met her on YouTube. She was playing like old retro school, and she lives in Maryland. And to like drive down to Maryland, it was like, okay, you get like nervous for a second because you're like, never met this person, right? But even though like you've worked with them and you've talked to them like every day, and you're like, oh God, so you have that moment. You're like, okay, I'm a little nervous. But then it's like, oh, okay, it's just you. Like
yeah, once you lock eyes and hug and all that, it's like you go back into best friend mode.
Yeah. So I'm excited for you for that. I hope the day for like, like even like you, me, Queen, Colin, like I would like kill like for that like moment. It'll be so amazing. And
when we finally get to the States, I will be making sure I go to a Synergy show.
Yes.
I have to go there. So yeah, I'm sure we'll hook up and just have an absolute blast and have a great time watching some quality wrestling at Synergy.
And bring the streamers, because like it's a rule. Like I exploded. I'm taking complete, I'm taking responsibility of this at Synergy. I said it to Colin on the stream. I was like, I'm taking complete, for it. And it was funny because when I threw it at Casey didn't even know it was me. She found out when I was on Rob's Bob Culture podcast, when it was me, him, and Casey, and she's like, that was you? And I was like, yeah. And she's like, oh. So it just started like a whole thing. And like I love how when she won, well, like before, when she first came out, before she won the crown, and the oh my God, all the streamers before the fact, it was so amazing, like for her to watch her with all the streamers. And like I missed her at the last show, and I was like, damn. And then I text her like after, and I'm like, not for nothing, I said, I'm a little sad at my peeps. I was like, there wasn't enough streamers to my liking here. I was like, you guys are supposed to do me proud. I was like, what the hell, guys? Like, give me more streamers. I was like
it's not the quantity, it's the quality.
It's funny you say that, because I had bought I buy on Amazon like before, which reminds me I have to go order some before I go to the next show. So after this podcast, I'm gonna go on Amazon and go order some more streamers because they ran out. And I ordered streamers I found like on sale, and they were like this beautiful purple, right? They're like, I think it was purples and pinks, right? Which I've never had before. And the girl next to us, our girl Bridget, she was like, Tiffany, she goes, are these your streamers? And I'm like, yeah. And she goes, these are beautiful. And then she went and grabbed it and stole it. She's like,
oh, wow. Reeled it back in.
Like after I threw it, because like how they push them out, she was, I'm keeping this. She was
like, wow.
I was like, dude,
have it on elastic so you can throw it and then it comes back.
it's funny because you know what happens now is a lot of the shows that I go to now, like people know like I love Throw the Streamers, and if there's leftover streamers or for whatever reason like you know they see like it's where it starts and there's still plenty left, they'll bring them back to me. They're here, Tiff. There's more streamers for you for next time.
Wow.
Yeah.
But that just shows the impact you're having on these companies and these fans, because yeah, that's an amazing story. I really love that.
Oh, it's great. And like I mean I know you listened to the episode of Indie Talks because I know you had commented on it, like that real episode that I did. It really was like that I sat there and I was real and raw, and it's like you said that like the impact that I leave. And I love the last Synergy show that I went to, and I got a whole bunch of us to dress up very Christmassy, and it was so cool for even me. And then like Colin walked over to us, he goes, "Oh my God," he was like, "I love this section right now." We're all like in hats and like light up things and like anything Christmas, and he's like, "This is so." That's why like I feel like independent wrestling is so important, because it really is a very different experience than going to like WWE or AEW. And I'm not saying like, you know, don't, and you know, because that's a great experience, but it's such that personal level that it's very intimate, it's very different, and you make friends. And the amount of, you know, you keep going back to these shows and you just make more friends, and you talk to people. Hey, that person was there like every week. I can't tell you, you know, forget me being a podcaster, but just going around the show, but like, hey, I seen you at the last show. It's really cool.
And it's not only that, it's you get to see these wrestlers learning the trade, and you get really close to them and kind of become friends with them, and then you see them becoming huge, and you feel proud. You're proud that you were there at the beginning of their careers.
Yes.
and you can see what they've turned into. And yeah, it's definitely the kind of the heartbeat of the wrestling world is indie wrestling. And yeah, I need to make it a goal of mine to get more into the indie scene, because yeah, it's just a buzz that you don't get in any other kind of entertainment.
Yeah, it's important, guys. That's why, like, you know, I know a lot of people aren't into the indie scene, and that's why it's like I'm that hardcore into the indie scene that, you know, that's why on the network it's important to me to bring these interviews to you guys and show you guys the backstage stuff, because like I said, a normal fan isn't going to see a lot of the backstage stuff, and a lot of the behind the scenes are important. Like our friend Raz Lighting, like here's a 16-year-old kid that owns a business who does the lighting at Synergy, and like, oh God, I'm like blank right now. Like a lot of the name of the company, Wrestle Pro, that he works at these shows and he does the lighting, and it's so cool to kind of like see that he's such a vital and important person at these shows as well. And like again, like I made sure to get footage on the network for you guys to see all this, because it's important, because everybody plays a role. And I think even being like that casual fan, you don't think about these things.
No, exactly. And there's so much logistics going into doing a show that people who just sit there in the crowd and watch what happens in the ring might not understand. Right. And I know you kind of downplay your kind of influence in it, but if it wasn't for people like you kind of highlighting these wrestlers and kind of highlighting what goes on behind the scenes and showing all the work that goes into putting on a show, people wouldn't realize how hard work it actually is. And you really, I think what you do is absolutely amazing, and you don't take enough credit for that.
I'll always be like that, because I feel like everybody else is so important that I feel like anything I do is a nothing to what everybody else does. And even to see things like the ring being broken down in front of me, which I've seen, which I didn't even know how it worked, and I was like, wow. So watching the wrestlers like break it down and bring it to the truck and watch what they do, and I'm like, wow. Like again, normal fan, you don't think about these things, and
no,
to like
exactly.
physically see it is really amazing to me. It really is. So it's a very interesting experience. So I do try to bring that on the network because I do feel it's very, very important. So we're winding down to like our hour talk. So tell us some goals that you got going on for 2021. What's going on?
Yeah, I mean, I'm not usually a goal-oriented person when it comes to my content. Like I said, I'm not about the clout. I'm not about the numbers. I couldn't tell you how many people listen to my show. I'm all about the conversation. So for me, my goal is to keep smashing out programs like Badlands and having interesting and amazing guests on there. I'm just looking to just keep having fun doing content creation because that's why I do it. Yeah. I don't do it for money or fame. I do it because I enjoy it. And the minute I start not enjoying it is probably the minute I'll fade into the background of wrestling Twitter. But yeah, for me, it's all about kind of just having fun and just enjoying the conversations.
Nah, it's true. It's really, really true. And I think that's why we're all like linked together, because I think we all kind of like feel the same way. So I love it. But so tell everybody where they can find you if they want to follow you, if they're not following you already.
Okay, so you can follow me on Twitter at Big Pause on a Pup. I'm a retired podcaster because I couldn't hang with all the other podcasters. So I've faded away. No, really, you can find me at DJ Kirkby. Like I said at the beginning of the show, I have more podcasts than any human should ever have. But yeah, if you give me a follow on Twitter, and yeah, just join in the conversation because I will absolutely talk to anybody. Come and check out my content. It would be an absolute pleasure.
Yes, do it now. There's information in the description below. So, but one day, like I said, hopefully we cross paths in person, and then we can take some crazy pictures, and Colin can photobomb us in the background. It'll be great. I look forward to that day. Again, this was absolutely amazing. I'm finally glad that we were able to sit and chat on Wrestle Forum. It was a lot of fun. I love hanging out, chatting with you. Looking forward to the madness and the craziness going forward. And but guys, thank you so much for hanging out with us. And make sure you like, share, subscribe to the Holds Barred Network. And give Mags a follow, give him some love. And so I guess that is it for now, guys. And we'll talk to you soon. Bye.
See you all later.